What's going on, guys? Everyone back here with another video, and today we're going to be talking about what if Naruto was neglected and ended up like Obito part 2. So I hope you guys will enjoy this video. So let's begin. Time skip. 7 years later. Naruto's hair had grown out and now it went down to his spine. He had unlocked his Sharingan at age 7 and unlocked his second Tomoe a month later. And at 8 years old, he unlocked the 3 Tomoe Sharingan. Naruto stood at an impressive 5 foot 2 inches. He had mastered several jutsus that Madara and Zetsu taught him. Madara was standing before Naruto, who was doing a set of push-ups while Zetsu was sitting on his back. "Come on, Naruto, only 50 more," Madara said with a sadistic smile. Naruto was sweating as he had already done around 450 of them. That's what you said 5 minutes ago, Naruto huffed. "Well, if you'd start complaining, you would already be done by now," Madara countered. "Fine," Naruto went back to what he was doing. Madara had secluded himself for a couple of days. Afterward, and Madara broke the seal that was keeping the nine-tailed soul inside Naruto, and today the soul would fully transfer to Menma. Madara looked into Naruto's heart and found a small silver of darkness, and when Madara looked at it, he saw, to his shock, that the darkness didn't have anything to do with the Sharingan or even the wood style. That it had developed when Naruto got Zetsu cells fused with his own. Over the time, Madara examined Naruto's chakra and felt a rush of calm flow over his dark heart. Madara watched as Naruto worked for his power with blood, sweat, and tears. Naruto kept on working on his push-ups. When he finished, Zetsu got off his back. Naruto hopped to his feet and looked at Madara. "Well done, Naruto. You're gonna be training under me is done. But I think it's about time we begin Project Tsukinome," Madara said. "Already? But I even don't have the Mangekyo. How will I be able to manipulate Nagato and Konan after Obito's death?" Zetsu has been informing them on what to do, telling them that it was my orders, Naruto said, as Madara nodded. "In due time, you'll get the Mangekyo. Until then, Zetsu will keep on giving orders to Nagato," Madara said, as Naruto nodded. Madara smiled. "Now, go get some sleep, Naruto. It's late." "Hi, Gigi." Naruto ran towards his room, but Madara stayed there and looked at Zetsu with a sober look on his face. "You know what to do, Zetsu. Fetch my original eyes. It's time I do what I must to my grandson as my final gift." "Yes, Madara-sama." Zetsu walks off and Madara waits until he hears the snoring of his grandson. Then he grabbed his kunai and walked into Naruto's room and lunged at his grandson's sleeping form and plunged the kunai at his heart. Acting on instinct, Naruto dodged the kunai and disarmed his attack, then stabbed Madara in the heart. When the light from the room hit Madara's face, Naruto saw who his attacker was. "No!" Naruto started crying. "Gigi, why? What have I done?" "Naruto, forgive me." Madara choked as he drew his last breath. "Gigi!" Naruto's Sharingan activated, and it started spinning, forming the 3 blades that were curved. It's the same pattern as Obito. Just then, Zetsu walked in and saw Madara's dead body. "It's alright, Naruto. This is what Madara-sama wanted. He wanted to die by your hands, so you would unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan. His final wish was to give you his original eyes, so you won't go blind. For the next few weeks, I'll be training you in the Mangekyo's abilities." Naruto started crying at the dead body of his grandfather. "Come on, Naruto. Remember all that Madara has taught you," Zetsu said, trying to comfort the boy. "I know, Zetsu." Naruto wiped his tears away and got a very cold look on his face. Zetsu, I want you to bury Gigi's body somewhere no one will find it ever. Make it something worthy for him, Naruto said. Yes, Naruto. You will transfer his mother's original eyes and it will take a few days for you to adjust to them. Then we'll discuss your living situation because Konoha has, your living condition is not the best. He said, I know, Zetsu. Just let me mourn for Gigi, Naruto said. Madara loved you, Naruto. Don't let his sacrifice be in vain. Become stronger. I know you can. Alright, Zetsu. Give me Gigi's original eyes, Naruto said. Yes, Naruto. Right away. Time skip. 3 days later. Naruto was in his room at the Namikaze compound, looking at the ceiling. He had planned out everything, and there was no way that he and his grandfather were gonna fail. Naruto-sama, today is the graduation test. Azetsu appeared and said to Naruto, I know, it's only a matter of time before I leave the village. Might as well go out with a surprise, he said as he got up. Naruto got up and quickly started to change into his daily wear. He wore a black hoodie with a kanji of black in red, and he wore black cargo pants as well as with many pockets to hold ninja tools. On the sides of his swords, he attached his compartments. The cases were in blue. Naruto took a shower and waited for someone to open his cage door so that he could go to school. After a while, his mother, Uzumaki Kushina, opens the door with a plate of food. Naruto, I bought you food, she said in a sad tone. Please leave. Just looking at you makes me sick to my stomach, Naruto said in a monotone voice. Kushina just put the food on the table and went out of the room with a sad look on her face. Chih, the woman really thinks that I'll forgive her that easily, huh? White Zetsu, who sank to the ground the moment Kushina appeared, spoke. I guess your clone really gave them the talk, didn't he? It was all part of my plan. Once I leave the village, I want them to live in despair and suffer, Naruto said. As 3 days ago, a certain incident happened that changed everything in the Uzumaki household. Flashback. Naruto has sent a wood clone to the Namikaze compound since he was still recovering from his eye transplant. Naruto's clone was laying down with a blank expression on his face until the seal on his stomach started glowing bright red as the clone smirked. I guess it's time, he said as he watched the red chakra came out of his body and went downstairs where the Namikaze family were having dinner. Menma, Kushina, and Minato were having their dinner. Dad, Suki-chan still hates me for some reason and only talks to that demon, Menma said as Minato sighed. Menma, Suki has gone through some stuff. Her entire family was killed. Give her some time, I'm sure she will eventually come through around, Minato said. Then the family saw a red ball of chakra entering Menma's seal. Ah! Menma screamed in pain as he clutched his stomach in pain. Menma! Kushina said and ran towards her son. Minato, what's going on? She said as she looked at Minato, still holding on to Menma. Minato lifts off Menma's shirt and looks at the seal. His eyes widen. He quickly ran upstairs and entered Naruto's room, glaring at him. What have you done? He screamed, glaring at Naruto, who looked at him with an impassive look. What do you mean? Naruto asked. Minato clenched his fist. You know what I mean, demon, he said. The soul of the Nine-Tails is released and has entered Menma's seal, for God's sake. Naruto looked at him and sighed. It was bound to happen sooner or later. The soul will eventually re-enter its chakra. In simple language, it is only a matter of time until I have the Kyuubi soul, Naruto said. Minato's eyes widened. Then an angry look came on his face. He grabbed Naruto's collar and glared at him. "You're lying. You had something to do with this, didn't you?" He said, glaring at Naruto. Naruto looked at him with a smug look on his face. "You heard what I said, then call me a liar. Now you refuse to believe what I've shared. Your mind may not want to accept these revelations, but inside you there is a voice saying, 'Accept it. It's the truth.'" Minato let go of Naruto's collar and took a step back. "No," Minato said. "Soon you will know. Time will help. I feel sorry about your confusion, but this world has never really been about truth or lies. In this world, there's only one thing worth knowing: hard facts. Despite this universal truth, people misguidedly choose only to accept those facts that appeal to their way of thinking. They're so limited that they can only accept the truth that are comfortable for them." Naruto continued. Minato looked at the boy. The boy was so wise and smart for his age. You could tell by his words, those words were not of someone who was only 12 years old. Those words were of a wise man. And there was only one fact that hit him the hardest: that the boy was no demon. So, this is simple about wanting to hang on to your personal power. Realizing things may have not been as you accepted them to be unsettles you. It's overwhelming. "Are you absolutely sure that you know the truth?" Naruto asked as Minato said nothing. "Will you call Menma a demon now, since he has the soul of the QB?" he asked. "No," was all heard from Minato in reply. "Naruto, I was sorry, Minato tried to apologize, but Naruto cut him off. "So mad at the fact that the QB destroyed the village and killed many of your friends, you needed someone to blame, and you chose me, since I had the soul of the QB. You and Kushina were blinded by your hatred. Is that what you were trying to say?" Naruto said. Minato didn't say anything because he knew the words that Naruto said were truth. "Get out of my sight. You disgust me," Naruto said as Minato turned around to leave the room with his head down in shame. He glanced one last time at Naruto and muttered, "I'm sorry," as he left the room. Flashback ends. After that day, Kushina and Minato had tried several times talking to Naruto and asked for his forgiveness, but Naruto always ignored them. He quickly glanced at the window right next to him and saw the sun shine brightly in the day. Naruto covered his eyes to block the sunshine from hitting his eyes before jumping right outside of the apartment complex. "What are the chances of me failing the graduation test?" 30% at least, Naruto thought, using the factor that he had large chakra reserves and that even surpassed Minato's. Naruto started pondering rather deeply. If I can't create a simple clone, then I'll just have to make them think that I created a clone. But how should I get around that idea? Naruto thought. Finally arriving at the academy, he was excited finally to be out from the Namikaze household. Minato and Kushina told Menma the entire truth. Menma tried to talk to him, but again, Naruto ignored him. "Yo, Naruto, good to see you have finally decided to join us." Naruto looked towards the boys and saw Kiba's voice calling out towards him. He raised an eyebrow, walking towards them. "Oh, it's the goddamn troublesome blonde," Shikamaru said, lazily putting his head down on the desk. Shikamaru, had blonde and black hair, Choji said. Choji was munching on his delicious chips, and Shikamaru just sighed in response. Kiba, Choji, and Shikamaru were the only ones in the entire academy that talked to Naruto and were somewhat of a friends to him. Since their parents told them to talk to him, they saw how the boy was treated and wanted him to have some friends, so they asked their own children to befriend him. That's correct, but his hair is mostly dominated by blonde, so I use the blonde instead of adding black to a sentence. Plus, it's way too troublesome to add another word when I could just reduce it. Chody sighed, still munching on his chips. Before anyone could say anything, Suki slid the door open. As Suki walked towards her seat, she created an established eye contact with Naruto himself. Suki-chan. Menma was the one trying to sit next to her, but she glared at him. That seat is for Naruto, she said as Menma scoffed. Why do you want to sit next to him? I'm the strongest in the class when it comes to actual combat, Menma said with an arrogant smirk on his face. Suki scoffed. Don't kid yourself. I could beat you in a blink of an eye if I went all out. Menma was now pissed. He went up to Naruto and looked at him. What's so special about him? He asked. Naruto looked at Menma with an impassive look. We are friends for almost 8 years. It's only natural she would want to sit next to me. Unlike you, who's only trying to get her because she's pretty. Suki blushed hearing Naruto call her pretty. Was something very rare, and are you any different? Menma asked as Naruto sighed. You don't understand me, Menma. You never will. You're a spoiled brat who got everything handed to him since birth. You don't know what suffering means. Whereas Suki knows how it feels, how suffering feels like. Menma looked at Naruto, then looked at the ground. I'm sorry, he said. After the talk he had with his parents about Naruto, he knew how much he had suffered. He didn't want to get into that topic since he felt guilty that he was one of the people who called Naruto a demon. Looks like your partner wants to talk to you. Off you go. Kiba pushed Naruto away. God, they were a handful. Complete weirdos. Naruto sighed, sitting right next to Suki. His face was very stoic. Good morning. Good morning, Suki, Naruto said. Naruto was shot an unknowing look by Kiba. He raised an eyebrow, confused at what Kiba was trying to message him. Naruto ignored this and went back to his day. He waited and waited as more people filled the room. Naruto saw you, Suki's biggest fanboy, join the class and spared a glare at him. He sat down on his own sheet as Naruto sighed, regretting every second sitting with Suki. Iruka appeared walking into the class along with Mizuki. You might be wondering about Mizuki. Well, he was a new teacher that appeared in the class to be an assistant for Iruka. He appeared when they were all at the rip of age 9. Naruto really didn't like him. His ability as a chunin was below standards and should be bumped down to a genin. Good morning, class. Good morning, Eureka-sensei. Most of the class blurted out. The abundance of shouts and voices he heard from the class with just was a nuisance to Naruto's ears. He guessed Suki was at least bearable to a very large extent. She was quiet, and when she wanted to be loud, she was loud. All in all, she was a quiet and good company for Naruto. As you know, today is the graduation test. The class roared in excitement. Well, some roared in excitement. Some had tears welling up to their eyes, and some were neutral and stayed silent during it all. Naruto was indeed excited, but that doesn't mean that he'll act like a fucking gorilla, and the death of his grandfather was one of the factors that he hadn't smiled once since he died. I would love to congratulate you all on your 6th years of your stay in the academy. It really made me happy that I know that you all. Thank you. A lot of the class roared in admiration. You bet, Eureka-sensei, one of the class kids shouted, obviously both sad and happy about their graduation day. Eureka smiled at everyone, glancing at everyone with the content and happiness together. I would like us to begin the graduation exam, Eureka said. Getting some people to get serious, Eureka pulled out a piece of paper from his holster and held it tightly. Before we do, I would like to announce the Rookie of the Year. Many students had their eyes widened, and a considerable amount, and thirst for the titles themselves. Though there was only no chance that they were actually going to achieve such title, due to Suki being in the class and alongside them, and she was very skilled, and being a future Kunoichi, the other few people who had even been a candidate for this spot was the top two, and that was Menma. The Rookie of the Year is Suki Uchiha. All the fanboys roared and started to cheer for her. Naruto was glad that he didn't show any of his skills because he was well above a jonin level, and he had unlocked his internal Mangekyo Sharingan. He was still trying to figure out his eyes ability, but there was no doubt in his mind. Only with one of his Mangekyo he was Hage level ninja. Well, congrats on the title, even though it means nothing, Naruto said. To Suki, she glared at him, but she got a double meaning in that sentence. You think I don't know that I know. I'm no match for you, she thought. Since that is now done, I would like to start with the graduation exams now. Everyone nodded, noting to themselves that this was their goal while they were in the academy to graduate. Wow, I would like Shikamaru Nara to go first. Please go to the testing room and do a clone jutsu. They heard Shikamaru groan, annoyed for having to go first, but he didn't complain since that would result in more things becoming more troublesome. After a while, Shikamaru appeared from the testing room with a forehead protector being held in his hand. He sighed, walking back to his desk. Conrad, Shikamaru. Kiba held out his hand towards him. With a slight yawn, Shikamaru outstretched his hand and shook it. Thanks, I guess. I'll be going back to sleep now. Kiba laughed at Shikamaru, patting him on the back. Make sure to wake yourself up. Shikamaru sighed, putting his head back on the desk. As the time went on, each person left the room, one at a time, to do the graduation test. The fanboys clapped for Suki as she got her forehead protector, hoping to get noticed by their queen. She ignored them, only wanting to acknowledge by one person of her caliber. That person was Naruto, and she was quite pleased to see him give her a sneaky small thumbs up at her and adding a small smirk to his face. Can I have Uzumaki Naruto get up from his seat and enter the testing room? Eureka asked, sticking his head out from the door. Naruto nodded, following the orders by getting up from his seat and walking towards the door. Good luck, Suki said, as Naruto passed right by her. He nodded slightly, acknowledging what she had just told him. Naruto arrived past the door and entered the testing room, looking at Eureka and Mizuki. Alright, Naruto, show us your best clone jutsu. Naruto nodded his hands. His hands started going through a set of hand signs at a super quick pace in a single second. Clone jutsu, Naruto said, and in a puff of smoke, a clone arrived right beside him. A perfectly normal clone that stood there, devoid of emotions. A pleased expression was plastered on their face. Good, Naruto. You may get a forehead protector for choosing. Naruto nodded, walking over to the table that was close to him and looked at many options. I'll take this one, Naruto thought, while stretching his hand and grabbing the forehead protector. With a signature metal plating and a dark blue cloth that was wrapped around it. Good job, Naruto. You have done well in the academy, even though you have skipped many classes while attending here. Naruto nodded, bowing his head slightly before walking out. Naruto sighed slightly. knowing that he did quite well in casting the genjutsu earlier. Yes, Naruto had flashed his Sharingan for a moment to create a basic genjutsu that was quite hard to get out of since it was a genjutsu produced by the Sharingan. Naruto had flashed his Sharingan for a split millisecond. Iruka and Mizuki had fallen into his genjutsu, where he had created it to where it made it seem like he had created a clone successfully. And that was necessary to pass the graduation exam, all for its plan, but in reality it would have seen the clone was all blue and dead on the ground. He released the genjutsu the exact moment the clone put away out of existence and had thought of his plan before he entered the room. Naruto stepped out of the room with the forehead protector wrapped around his forehead. He walked towards his head, seeing a nod of approval from Suki herself. Next day, at the Hokage's office, there was a meeting going on between the Hokage and the Jonin senseis. Many of the Jonin, along with Minato, Jiraiya, Kushina, were watching the Genin graduation exam with greatest interest. Minato sighed, so it's safe to assume most of the students graduating are quite promising shinobi. The Jonin nodded their heads. This year was a new batches of Genin and it was quite a catch. Have any of you decided on who you wish to take? Asked Master Otobi, the son of the third, walked forward. I wish to take Shigemaru Nara, Choji Hakimichi, and Ino Yamanaka. I would like to train the next generation of Inoshika sir. Minato nodded his head. Very well. Right. Anyone opposed to this? No one argued. Well, Asuma, your team is yours. Next, Kurona Yui, Konoha's Genjutsu specialist, stepped forward. I would like to take Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, and Hinata Hyuga. Minato nodded after he waited for any objections, which he did none. Okay, next. Kakashi stepped forward. I would like to take Suki Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, Menma Namikaze, and Naruto Uzumaki. Menma looked at Kakashi. Are you sure you can handle 4 genins? He asked. Kakashi gave him an eye smile. Well, I'll convince Sakura to join the medical corps so that she can become a medical ninja. From what the reports have said, she's not fit for fighting, so technically I have the 4 regular man squad, he said as Minato sighed and nodded. Naruto dodged a front punch from Suki, then he used his forearm to block a kick that was sent his way. You're getting better, Naruto commented, jumping in the air and around Suki. It's expected. Suki watched as Naruto threw a kick in mid-air. She reacted quickly, dodging the kick and doing a kick of her own. Naruto blocked. Naruto sent a kick towards her that she blocked. Naruto landed on the ground. Without much hesitation, Naruto gained the moment and slid through Suki's legs. Suki abruptly stopped, gaining a whole load of red and pink on her overall face. Pervert, she yelled, angrily glaring at Naruto. She closed her thighs. Naruto got up and regained his balance, glancing at Suki with a raised eyebrow. You misunderstood. I didn't even look up at all. Also, you're wearing a pair of pants, not a skirt. Your calm of me being a pervert is not valid at all. Just drop it. I win. Naruto dropped down to the ground, looking up at the sky. Idiot, she muttered. Naruto heard her, but didn't pay her any mind. For him, she was just a pawn for him to use in the future, or that is what he kept telling himself. After 4 years of training, I'm still nowhere near your level, she said. Naruto looked at her with an impassive gaze. Still, you are only limiting yourself. What's your potential by comparing yourself to me? He got a sharp glare in return. Well, I'll see you later, Naruto said, stretching out his limbs as he made his way out to the forest grounds that he and Suki used to train on. She nodded, doing the same and getting up from her current position. Naruto waved a goodbye as he disappeared into the endless and vast forest. Naruto was far enough and deep into the forest. He spread out his senses to check if any chakra signature was around him. He found none. He closed his eyes and opened them to show his internal Mangekyo Sharingan. Above image is his Mangekyo Sharingan's pattern. Naruto activated the ability that he discovered that his right eye had as he disappeared in a swirling vortex. Naruto appeared in the hideout of Madara in a swirling vortex. I still can't believe your right eye has the same ability that Obito had, White Zetsu said. Obito's Kamui was incomplete. He could only use the short range of the Kamui, whereas my right eye can use both the long range and the short range of the jutsu, Naruto said as Black Zetsu appeared. Nagato said that he wants to meet you. He has had enough of you sending messages through me, Black Zetsu said as Naruto nodded. Very well, let's pay a visit to Nagato, Naruto said in a deep voice that sounded exactly like Madara's as he put on an orange mask with a single eye hole in it as he disappeared in the swirling vortex. In the hidden rain village, a figure was standing. He had orange hair and several piercings all over his face, but the most noticeable thing was his eyes, which were purple with rings in them. The figure turned around when he saw a swirling vortex appear. It's been a long time, Nagato, the masked man said as he looked at Pain, who nodded. Indeed, it has, Madara. Oh, what do you want to talk about? You could have sent a message to Zetsu. I'm busy, Nagato. Make this quick, Naruto said in his deep Madara voice. I just wanted to ask, when will we start our plans? Pain asked as Naruto looked at him. I'm sure you know this, but we don't have enough money. And after Orochimaru left, it dealt a huge blow to our organization. But I'll soon retrieve the ring. For my speculations, we'll start our plans in 4 years. Pain nodded. Very well, but why just not kill Orochimaru? You have the power to do so, Pain said, as Naruto narrowed his eyes at him. I have plans for him. And when my plans are finished, he will be dead, Naruto said as Pain nodded. If that's all, I'll take my leave, Naruto said as he vanished in a swirling vortex. Conan appeared beside Pain. Looked like he is still alive and Black Zetsu wasn't bluffing after all, she said as Pain nodded, looked over the village that he swore to protect. Hope you guys liked this video, and this is gonna be the end of What If Naruto was neglected and ended up like Obito part 2. For the next part, get this video to around 10 likes and I'll post it. So see you guys in the next video. Peace.